G'day legends, so the news has dropped that the UFC are going to be coming back to Perth, Australia, which is one of my favourite venues. Now, I might be a little bit biased, obviously, because I'm Australian, but I do think the Perth crowd is one of those crowds that does tend to go off. It's very similar to the London crowd, the French crowd, yeah, maybe not as loud as the French, no one's as loud as the French, but the Perth crowd does go off, and I'm excited to see them back. So I thought today what we could be doing together is I have built us an absolutely phenomenal Perth Fight Night card. Now, unfortunately, this is a Fight Night card, September 28th. It seems like, because of the rumors that are dropping, according to Ali Abdel Al Bloody Z's, mate, that JDM is going to be fighting Islam Makhachev at Madison Square Garden in November. So, Perth is just going to be a Fight Night card, but there's no reason we can't have an amazing Perth Fight Night card. This is what I have cooked up for you guys. And let us start it thusly by kicking off the card with an Australian, obviously. Always going to be Australians. Cody Haddon. He's had one fight, coming straight off the Contender Series, had one fight, and he has got just some phenomenal boxing. We could have a little Australian Joshua Van here. I know, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but we could have a little Australian Joshua Van here. Like, his hands are phenomenal, and I want to test him straight away. I want to get him right in there. I want to test him straight away against Cameron Smotherman. Yep, let me get that out of the way. Right, I want to test him straight away against Cameron Smotherman. Look, Cameron Smotherman is 1 win, 2 losses in the UFC. He recently just lost to Ricky Simone. I think he got pushed a little bit too hard. He was one of those Contender Series guys that got shown to have a great bit of potential against Jake Hadley. Yeah, and then, lost one to Sarah City, and then went in there against Ricky Simone and recently just lost. So now he is at that stage in his career where it's like do or die. What kind of a prospect are you? And with Cody Haddon and him having so much hype being built up, this is going to be a great little match because Smotherman can throw a decent amount of grappling as well, right? So he is going to have that base, and it's really going to test Cody Haddon to see where he's at, and it's going to be like, Smotherman, are we going to be investing in you? This is like a make or break fight for you. Are you really here in the UFC ready to go? So this is going to be a very fun little hardcore fight to kick off the Fight Night card. Next one up, who have I got for the next one up? Oh, that's right. Tai Tuivasa. Fight! Tai, it is time to fight, dude. Alright? You can't sit. Listen, the heavyweight division, it's back now. Tom Aspinall is the king. Tom Aspinall has said he wants to fight everybody in the top 10, and he wants to be fighting as actively as possible. Tom Aspinall could very easily be on a sort of Alex Pereira, Alexander Volkanovski, Kamaru Usman in his prime, Israel Adesanya in their prime sort of a run. Get in there, fight often, stay busy. And that means we need movement in the heavyweight division, and I think this would be good for Tai Tuivasa. The real question is, can Tai Tuivasa drop down from 500 pounds to 260 pounds by September 28th? This is good for Tai Tuivasa. It'll keep him alive. And it's a ranked fighter, and we need some movement in the heavyweight division. I think he should be going in there against Waldo Ortez Acosta. Now, look, I don't think Waldo beat Spivak in his last fight. I don't, but this is the way that the rankings are working. We've just got to get movement going in the heavyweight division. I said in yesterday's video, just make the bloody Cyril Gane fight between Tom Aspinall and Cyril Gane, even though meritocratically speaking, it should be Alexander Volkov, but here we are. This is the rankings that we have in front of us. So do Tai Tuivasa, get Waldo Ortez Acosta down to Australia, and let's have a blob off in Perth after we have a little fun paced bantamweight fight. Then we move to the blobs, and then the card's really going to start to pick up, right? Because after that, we're going to have none other than Steve Erceg. Look, Steve Erceg needs to have a little bit of a rebuilder going on here. Let's face it, like Steve Erceg, he's now down 2 on the trot, 3 on the trot. How many is Steve Erceg down? Steve Erceg's down to Pantoja, then Steve Erceg's down to Moreno. No, then Steve Erceg's down to Kai Kara France. Now Steve Erceg's down to Moreno. So now Steve Erceg's down 3 on the trot. Not good. We need to rebuild him. Who are we going to rebuild him against? Ranked Bruno Silva, right? Bruno Silva has been insanely inactive. However, he did just have a great fight against Joshua Van, which he lost. So now Bruno Silva's down to. Bruno Silva's down to Manel Kape, and he's down to Joshua Van. So Bruno Silva needs to rebuild. Steve Erceg is down 3. They're both in the rankings. Who is going to be dropping out of the rankings, and who is going to be able to keep their ranking? That is what this fight entails. And it's going to help wake up the crowd again after Waldo Ortiz Acosta just blobs against Tai Tuivasa. Or who knows, maybe Tai Tuivasa, when he loses the weight, he gets a little bit of the hunger back because he's been losing weight. Because he's been losing so much weight, he has the hunger back, and we see an awesome knockout. Who knows? But you see the pacing of the card that we are starting to build here. It's a bloody phenomenal one. Right, next one up. Who do I think we should do? Obviously, Kaiko. Oh, the face. The face is back. God. I know, Luke Thomas, calm down. We're still allowed to find it cringe, mate. I understand the context of the Maori face. I get the haka, mate. I've seen the haka live. It's phenomenal. It's just something about Kai Kara France doing it that's off-putting. I don't know what it is. But yes, we should... Obviously, look, Kai Kara France needs to get back in there as quickly as possible. And he wasn't chinned. That's the thing, right? He wasn't chinned. Like, I'm sure he's picked up some bumps and some bruises from Pantoja. I just saw the most phenomenal photo on Twitter of the kick that Pantoja landed on Kai Kara France, and it's like a crater hitting the earth. It looks awesome. And so I'm sure Kai Kara France is going to be hurt, right? But I don't think he's going to be so badly injured that we can't get him back in there by September. And I think a quick turnaround will be good for him to help rebuild that confidence, because it was a bit of a stinker. He put on a bit of a stinker. So I think activity is good for him. Get him back in there, get him confident, get him in there against Manel Kape. Manel Kape, our little bloody pull-out cancellation merchant. Get him in there against Manel Kape. We hate Manel Kape now. Oh, what do you mean we hate Manel Kape? We should hate Manel Kape. All right, he's gynocentric. He's got gyno dripping off him. He won his last fight via eye poke and eye clawing. This fight has got heat on it as well. They hate each other. They absolutely hate each other. So let's have a good old-fashioned rivalry. This fight should have been made ages ago. So let's just hurry up and make it now. Let's do Kai Kara France versus Manel Kape while we do Pantoja versus Joshua Van, and have Manel Kape actually try and earn a title shot without cheating, and see if Manel Kape can actually rock up to a fight night without pulling out of yet another event. I know Manel Kape's funny on the microphone, and I know that when he actually is on, he is one of the most fun fighters to watch. But the kid is irksome to me. And so is Kai Kara France. He's irksome to me too. So let's have two annoying fighters go in there and be annoying towards each other and have a bloody fast-paced scrapped. You know the real problem with this fight night card? All these fights could be made, but you're going to have Tai Tuivasa, who's ranked, Steve Erceg, who is ranked, and Kai Kara France, who is ranked. When has the UFC ever given us this many ranked fighters on one card in an area that isn't Abu Dhabi? You know what I mean? Oh, if only this was Perth, we would actually be able to have an entire card full of ranked fighters. But the main event obviously should be ranked, and who else should we have in the main event? It's not going to be Israel Adesanya. It's not going to be JDM. JDM's fighting for a title. It's not going to be Israel Adesanya. Do you know how much money he makes per fight? He has to fight on pay-per-view cards. Oh, but he fought on a fight night card. They pay millions of dollars over there. In Saudi Arabia and Abu Dhabi, they pay just as much as if it was a pay-per-view. That's why those cards look like that. So it can't be Izzy, and it can't be JDM, and it can't be Volk, right? Volk is also pay-per-view only. Yeah, Volk's like one of the greatest fighters of all time. So unfortunately, it can't be any of our hard hitters, but it can be a top 5 ranked lightweight. Dan Hooker, baby, hey, Volk, hey, I'll hold it down for birthday, bro. Let's get it, bro, hey. Dan Hooker. Gotta be Dan Hooker. Why not? I mean, he's cracked his hand open. It'll be fully healed up. He needs to get that momentum going again. Some people seem to think the Gamrot fight was close. I disagree. I thought Dan Hooker pretty clearly won the Gamrot fight. But some people think the Gamrot fight was close. And if that is the narrative that's going out there, look, I need to sort of be the same as I am with Shavkat as I am across the board, right? Like, Shavkat didn't look phenomenal against Ian Gary. Shavkat has sat out with a little bit of an injury and needs to get momentum moving again. I don't think Shavkat can just walk into a number 1 title shot, right? Dan Hooker is coming off a win against Gamrot, and he's been out for quite a while now with an injury, so it's time to get some momentum building. Now, obviously, Dan Hooker isn't walking into a title shot, but I don't think he should be clawing all the way into the rankings against the Paddy Pimblets, Justin Gaethjes, and Arman Tsarukyan's. Those two need to have a little competition to see what is going to be happening. Probably Ilia Topuria versus Paddy Pimblett and Arman versus Gaethje. Who knows the way that's going to turn out, but you see how those guys are all booked up. So, who do I think should be fighting Dan Hooker? Let's just have a good old fun fight. This is going to be sick. This is going to be sick. Dan Hooker versus Rafael Fiziev is a striker's dream. It's an MMA fan's dream. It's a 1 championship 4-ounce Muay Thai dream. Obviously, Dan Hooker's not a Muay Thai fighter, but you get what I'm saying. He's the fighter that's going to stand there and play that game with Fiziev, and I would love to see this war. I am such a big fan of Dan Hooker. I am such a big fan of Fiziev. I am such a big fan of violence and blood spraying all over the arena. I am such a big fan of listening to drunk Western Australians cheer whenever there's a knockdown. This would build the sickest fight night card in Perth, Australia. And on God, apart from Tai Tuivasa losing weight, and you just replace Tai Tuivasa with Jack Jenkins versus anybody, right? But this would be an amazing fight night card for Perth. And I do just want to say, Perth pays the UFC for these events. Australia pays the UFC for these events. We should not be getting horrible fight night cards. If Saudi Arabia pays, and Abu Dhabi pays, and Baku pays, we pay for cards in Australia. We pay the UFC a site fee, so give us good cards. Give us something like this. There is no reason at all a fight night like this couldn't be made unless you're taking your ranked fighters like your Kai Kara Francis and your Ursegs, and you are spreading them around the other Apex events to try and spread out the talent. But if we're going to pay the UFC $10 million over a couple of years to have events in Perth, put on a sick fight night card. Do something exactly like this. It would be absolutely phenomenal. So this is my idea for UFC Perth. Let me know what you think about it down there in the comments. If this is your first time here, g'day, welcome. My name is Dougie. I make an MMA video every single day of the week, and I try and go live at least 3 times a week. If you want to know when a new video drops or when I go live, hit the subscription button down there and the notification bell to know when a video drops and to know when I go live. That way your phone gets notified. Leave a like if you can't be bothered commenting. And if you're one of the true riders of the channel, I appreciate you guys so much. Your names are up on the next slide. Until then, I will see you all in the next video. Have yourselves a good one. Goodbye.